What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, CEO, MTS Nutrition. So, when strongmen talk, I listen. So, Robert Oberst, I'm watching this right now, was on Joe Rogan. And this guy's a beast. He's a monster. He's a freak. He's deadlifted umpteen million pounds, right? So he says, well, I actually listened to this. He says that deadlifting has too much risk. And as someone who does promote deadlifting quite a bit, especially my youth athletes, I'm going to have to disagree, especially when talking about the Hex Bar Deadlift. Now, if your form's not on point, if you're going tremendously heavy, I do concur that you do risk some things if your form's not there, if you're not trained in the deadlift. I have so many people message me, yeah, I strained a muscle in my back, done this, done that, done the other. One way to mitigate a lot of that is Hex Bar Deadlift by putting your arms in a neutral position, your hands in a neutral position, and having a more posterior chain-based stance, being that you're not cocked forward. When you deadlift with a barbell, it's in front of you and you're right here. So you're naturally going to have to be a little bit forward just to be able to get that deadlift, hence scraping your shins with the bar. When you are standing inside of a hex bar, your arms are directly to the side of you. It gives you a much more symmetrical stance. And also, let's take it a step further. If you're doing a reverse grip over under, you have a risk for bicep tears, and your body is naturally going to be imbalanced, right? It's going to be imbalanced because you have one arm under, one arm over. Think about it. You're just going to be like, look at my body right now, like with this. You can tell in how my deltoids are that it's completely different. Your body is going to be asymmetrical. So deadlifting like a power lifter would absolutely have some inherent risks to it. However, I will say that deadlifting, when done correctly in a hex bar, is probably one of the most rehabilitative movements you can do for both lower back, posterior chain health. Now, everything, in my opinion, everything as far as health, lower back integrity, and speed when running, a lot, not everything, but a large portion of what you do is you are generating force when you're running into the ground, utilizing your posterior chain. If I am going to make someone faster, if I'm training an athlete, the main component to that program is not only going to be unilateral movements to balance things out, is not only going to be quickness drills, speed drills, is not only going to be reaction drills, but the load I'm going to do is going to be a Hex Bar Deadlift. In fact, of all the lifts out there, the one that has been proven to improve your 40-yard dash time is the Hex Bar Deadlift. Now, he is talking regular deadlifts. And to that, you know what I have seen, again, like empirically speaking, and I'm going to kind of take up for Mr. Oberst right now. Yeah, I've seen people snap their shit up doing a conventional deadlift. I've seen people tear their bicep over under. When your hand is under, if you tense this a little bit, think about it. You got people tearing their bicep from, I've known someone who just turned pro in bodybuilding. He went to reach out and play with his kid, tore his bicep. One of my clients, I coach people, MarcLobliner.com, was literally just fixing his garage, tore a bicep. Now imagine if you have 600, 800, whatever pounds on the deadlift bar, you're under grip. If you're here, your bicep is protected more or less by your physiological build. If you're under, your bicep's in a very vulnerable position. So if you're here, it's a lot less vulnerable, a lot less likely to tear. Even if you look at Larry Wheels, he recently tore his bicep with an Atlas stone. Again, he was wrapped around like this, but being like this, you have a much lower possibility of tearing a bicep. You normally don't see people tear biceps on snatches or on things like that. You see them tear it on deadlifts. I've seen that multiple times on deadlifts where people tear their bicep. And also the asymmetry from having an over-under grip is quite extensive. But I am going to argue that just blanket statement that deadlifts are bad for you is not correct. Okay, if you do deadlifts correctly, if you have your neutral spine, if you're basically activating your hamstrings and tightening your core, utilizing your internal belt, the risk of injury for Hex Bar deadlifts are extremely low. Conventional deadlifts, in my opinion, is a much higher risk of injury than a Hex Bar deadlift. So my take-home advice to you is, you know what? Do deadlifts. Everybody should do deadlifts, from athletes to people just trying to be the best them ever. And that's not saying you need to max out. Now, if I'm training an athlete, I'm going to have them do 2 to 4 rep max because I want to load their posterior chain as much as possible, because running at the end of the day is generating force against the ground, which deadlifts basically do. They're the best posterior chain building movement you could possibly do. However, you also need to mitigate. You also need to even things out. Mix in some single leg Romanian deadlifts for balance, to activate all those muscles that might be imbalanced. Even if you're doing a hex bar, you might have one side compensating more than the other. Mix in some pistol squats, some Bulgarian split squats, some lunges, some things like that. Those will definitely help you. However, to say blanket state that deadlifts are bad for you or dangerous, and I'm not saying Robert said that, is completely erroneous. All right, that's just my opinion. So the bottom line is, to mitigate the risks of deadlifts, number one, stay within a weight you can safely lift with proper form. Number two is neutral spine. When you're deadlifting, put an object 10 feet in front of you on the floor. Look at that object the whole time. Do not look in the mirror. You will break neutral spine. Neutral spine is absolutely key. Number three, use a hex bar or use straps if you have to, if you can't support it with your grip, when doing a conventional deadlift. So hex bar and or do an over grip. Do not do over-under. And of course, breathe. Make sure the Valsalva maneuver's in check. Make sure you're bracing yourself with your breath, with your stomach, with your abdominals, and make sure you're lifting properly. Retract your scapula and keep your chest out. But everybody should deadlift, from athletes to bodybuilders to just everyday general population people. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. Really appreciate you watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click on the notification button, because subscriptions really mean nothing on YouTube anymore. Really appreciate you guys watching. That's not a game. Most vitamin D3 comes from sheep's wool grease. That's right. Sheep's wool and the grease from it. That's where you're getting your vitamin D3. No, that's disgusting. MTS Nutrition Vega D3 is derived from lichens, which is a renewable source. And the great part of it, sheep's wool grease, it's not vegan. So vegans can't even have it. Our Vega D3, again, 100% plant-based. We recommend taking 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day. This has it all in one capsule, available right now from MTS Nutrition.